It's time for the I'll Tell You What Data Dive. Let's dive in. We'll start, of course, with last week's halftime report average.
Was it?
What did it say? Oh, Hillary Clinton was winning by a lot. She was winning by more than 6 points. What is it this week? Dun, 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 dun. Not so much. Her lead has been cut to 4.6 points. And remember, as we pointed out earlier, almost all of that, except for 1 day of a 3-day tracking poll for the Washington Post, came before the revelation on Friday that James Comey was looking at Tony Weiner's computer. All right, so we had an idea, and that idea was, given we're 9 days away from the election, what is the historical track record? This was Dana Perino wanted to know, and fortunately, I work with smart people who are smarter than me and can answer questions like these. And the question was, how reliable have polls been at this point out from the election? And
you have answers. I have questions, you have answers.
Answers were provided. And so in 2012, what did the polls say? Said that Barack Obama 47.4 and Mitt Romney 46.2. Both of them went up, but Barack Obama went up a lot. He went up to 51.1%. Mitt Romney went up to 47.2%. I don't know whether you remember that, but he lost. Okay, in 2008, what happened? Barack Obama 50.4%, John McCain 42.8. We kind of knew what was going to happen that year.
But they both go up by about 2%.
But they both go up 2%. The polls, the margin remains, but they both, this is what happens when you see the undecided come in. What did it look like in 2004? 49.6 for George W. Bush, John Kerry 46.6. Now, again, I should point out, this is an average of polls. This is if we were doing the halftime report average at this point in each of those cycles. 9 days out, the 5 most recent reputable polls would show these two averages. And George W. Bush did a little bit better. John Kerry did quite a lot better, but not enough. And then to the granddaddy of them all, back in 2000, what did they say? 46 to a little less than 43. But then George Bush lost the popular vote. I don't know whether do you remember that, guys? Bill, do you remember that? I don't know whether you remember that.
I remember that.
But George Bush lost the popular vote but won the presidency. Hang your chads high. The point here is there were 9 days that intervened, and in that time, Dana, do you remember what happened?
Well, I do remember what happened. Do you want to tell them, though? Well,
there was was it a judge or a prosecutor in Maine? Remember that George Walker Bush had an infraction, had been drinking before he had operated a motor vehicle. That came out 4 days before. There wasn't time for Bush to respond, and it made the election real squirrely. What will happen in 2016? I don't know. But Hillary Clinton, that's her lead. They're both going to go up. Will Trump go up enough to eclipse her in the next 9 days?
Well, do you think even that she'll go up even after all of this? Like, could her number actually go down?
So the polls show the margin is what matters, because at the end, undecided voters, if you say that you're undecided at this point, you're lying. Because if you say you're an undecided likely voter, you're lying, because you're one of two things. You're either not a likely voter or you're not undecided, because you know which way you're leaning. Now, right at the end, stuff like this can have an effect. But basically what happens is the tide comes in on Election Day. She's not going to finish at 44. He's not going to finish at 40. They're both going to probably go up from there. The question is, can he do essentially what what Al Gore did and vault past her?
Do you agree with this?
The tide that Chris talks about is the most important thing, because that's what we base all polling on, is a predictive model on who we think are going to show up. Here's how many Latinos, here's how many women, here's how many African American, here's how many non-college educated whites or college educated. All that's a guessing game based off of historical data that really makes it not a guessing game, but you have to measure that. That's why you've seen all of these polls rise, because they've all been wrong a little bit. But over the average, it hasn't been that much. I think this time, though, because you can't measure what you don't know, and just like what I said about Arizona, Donald Trump may not have an office open there, but he's even. Does that mean he's going to bring out more people who haven't participated in the process because they're just fed up?
That's what he says.
Right. And that may be true, but we honestly don't know, because we don't know and can't call them, because we all do it off a predictability model that's based off of them voting.
So do you think it's possible, Charlie? We've heard a lot about the shy Trump voter, the people, and by the way, there's no evidence of this in polling, but that there are...
Because they're shy.
But don't you think that probably there are shy voters for both of these candidates?
I think that, well,
Embarrassed Hillary voters?
They're going to do what they got to do. I do think that there are a lot of them on the Trump side because, I mean, you get horribly vilified by the media, by, you know, going out to the bar, by your wife, whatever.
By whatever. I like how Charlie, this is hypothetical for Charlie, right? It's totally hypothetical.
I just happen to enjoy it. No, but and this is with those numbers you just showed. That's where the real problem for Donald Trump lies. Is that in all those cases where they closed at the end and their numbers went up, they had a unified party with the nominee, and you had a huge ground game operation working. And Donald Trump has to overcome that with enthusiasm.